If you're a North Korean news aficionado like me, you probably came across the NK News website well before discovering the podcast. It's an incredible source that gets you behind the headlines to give you what's probably the most reliable and evidence-based news on North Korea. Every business day, you'll get between 5 to 10 articles that provide exclusive news, detailed analysis, and informed opinions. And guess what? Each week they send you forward-looking week-ahead briefings and news alerts to keep you ahead of the curve. There's more. NK News members also get special reader-only benefits, access to exclusive events and online conferences, and perpetual access to our archive of podcasts. And here's the best part, you can get a $100 discount on your annual subscription with the code PODCAST. Redeem this podcast-only special today by visiting nknews.org/discount. That's nknews.org/discount. Hey, and welcome to the NK News podcast. I'm joined here in the studio by Anton Sokolin, my newest colleague at NK News. Anton, you are the tracker guy, right? Tell us more.
That's correct. Glad to be here. Thank you for inviting. Yes, I am basically the guy staring at ships all day long, trying to figure out whether North Korea is engaging in any illicit activities at open sea.
Is that interesting?
It is exciting.
That's great, because not everyone could find
it
ships
is exciting.
staring at
Please
ships.
check out my articles. There are plenty of more coming up, so please stay tuned.
That's right. You have certainly been very busy. And this is your first time to come here on the NK News podcast. Very grateful to have you on the show.
Thank you.
And of course, we should talk about what everyone's been talking about for the last few hours, which is that Kim Yo Jong is back in the game and she's made some angry statements.
That's true. And, well, in her angry statements, I think we spotted several trends or rather interesting moments that caught our attention. For example...
Okay, but before you do, what is the statement? Okay, so North Korea has...
Okay, yeah, let's begin from the starters. For us, it was a very long night, so
right.
Basically, Kim Jong-un's sister, Kim Yo Jong, basically warned the U.S. that if the U.S. aircrafts enter North Korean airspace, it will shoot it down, or there will be some absolutely grave consequences for the U.S. And when she released this statement, basically there were certain moments that caught our attention because of her linguistic details, or let's say certain peculiarities about her speech. And that's what I wanted to focus on today, actually.
Okay, but right before you do, I'm going to just say a couple of things about North Korean airspace.
Right.
Because, under the United Nations Command Armistice Agreement, which was signed back in 1953, the crossing of the demilitarized zone, this is defined as something that has to be done with the permission of the commanders of both the northern and the southern sides. But in terms of once you go outside the land border, that's not really defined in the Armistice Agreement. That's according to what I remember from the briefing that I attended with Steve Tharp last week. So the Northern Limit Line, which was designed to stop South Korean ships going into North Korean waters in the 1950s, that's something that's not actually covered in the agreement, but it was agreed upon later on.
Right.
But in terms of where we're talking about, I saw a map that somebody tweeted there that our colleague Kim Jong-min retweeted to say that North Korea puts its exclusive economic zone 200 nautical miles out into the sea, and it's quite a big area, almost halfway to Japan. And North Korea has made this accusation that the U.S. spy planes have crossed that area.
Yes, that is pretty much the essence of the situation, that allegedly U.S. aircraft trespassed this exclusive economic zone. But the problem is that from the statement, we can't really say clearly whether they did trespass, because what she mentions is that the U.S. aircraft possesses this capability, basically a radar view of 200 and over 200 miles, which somehow basically trespasses over to the economic zone, and that kind of raises suspicion. Did they really cross, or she's talking just about the capabilities of the U.S. to let's say view the area within the economic zone of North Korea? That's the question.
It's almost like, imagine you're living in your house and you've got a fence around your yard, and your neighbor doesn't go over the fence, but he can look over the fence.
Right.
Is he therefore, or she, crossing into your property by looking over the fence?
And in this situation, the analogy I think is pretty much correct, but I would point out one thing, is that according to the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea,
the UNCLOS?
Yes, the territorial waters are determined within 12 nautical miles.
Right.
And that is the territory that you don't want to cross. That would be the real fence. And whatever else outside that fence, this exclusive economic zone, it is just for that country's, let's say, economic purposes. It doesn't really fend off any intruders. It doesn't even supposed to do that.
Right. That's what they call the exclusive economic zone.
And that's why, according to my knowledge, you're granted free passage within that zone. That's why ships, like for example vessels, merchant fleet, can cross that zone.
But here we're talking about airplanes, and that's not even covered under UNCLOS, is it?
As far as I know, no. It's not really covered, but I would probably have to do my homework a bit more on that.
Right, this is not a formal answer.
Getting really
we're
technical here.
Yeah. But then there's this thing also called the Air Defense ID Zone, right? The ADIZ.
Right, air defense zone. But in this case, it wasn't mentioned because Kim Yo Jong was specifically referring to the maritime military demarcation line, which is not really defined yet. So we don't really know what it is. We know that it approximately coincides with the northern limit line, which is the extension, the eastward straight direct extension of the land military demarcation line, going straight eastward for like about 200 miles. But at the same time, we do not know really actually where it ends.
I understand that Kim Yo Jong used the word Kyongje Suyok, which literally translates as economic maritime or economic water zone.
Exactly. And that also raises a little concern about what she meant. Well, it raises so many questions that it would be really great if just Kim Yo Jong, instead of publishing her stream of consciousness, would have just published a map saying, here's where they entered our zone, and here's what they did.
She hasn't published maps herself.
She hasn't.
Now, in making these statements, in what capacity was she speaking? Right, she's a secretary of something in the is it the propaganda and agitation? I've forgotten now.
Right. For a few years now, she has been the vice director of the propaganda and the agitation department. But most commonly, she's referred as this just vice director, department director. But this is it.
Okay, right. Okay, but so she's made some interesting use of words there that suggest to you. Well, tell us more.
That's what I started with. Basically, a few things caught my attention. Is in Kim Yo Jong's rhetoric. First of all, she used this word Tehanminguk to refer to South Korea. And it is a very rare occasion indeed, because usually...
Is it in a written statement, or do we have on recording saying this?
I think it's only on the wire. I think we saw it only on the wire.
So it's a written statement.
It's a written statement, so it was, of course, it was in quotation mark.
Right.
Probably meaning some sarcastic tone.
Right.
But it's a rare occasion anyway to use the full official name of the Republic of Korea in a North Korean statement, which usually refers to South Korea as the South, or Namchoseon or Namchik, something like that. Right. And it was rather unusual. And
similarly, when it uses the word 대통령, it also normally puts some scare quotes around them as well.
Basically, sort of pulling a joke on the president, saying that he's not a real president.
Right.
That's basically their usual rhetoric. And this phrase vibes really well with the previous instances when the North Korean foreign ministry used also some interesting terms of Ipguk instead of Ipgyeon when talking about Hyundai Asan chief's planned visit to Mount Kimgan, and it's another topic that we will probably want to discuss.
Right, and that's just in the last week too. It's very recent. So yes, our listeners will remember that there used to be a South Korean-run resort in North Korea, the Mount Kumgang Resort, which was run by Hyundai Asan, and the chairwoman of that company, Hyun Jong-un, was going to go, or had asked permission to go to visit Kumgang to hold a memorial for her late husband, Jong Mong-hun, who died about 20 years ago. He was the former chairman of Hyundai Group. But North Korea said no, but also it used, this, as you say, this word ipguk, meaning crossing in or entering into a country, rather than the normal word that they used to use, ipgyong. And this statement was from the North Korean Foreign Ministry. In fact, Director General of the Foreign Ministry, Kim Song-il, gave this statement rather than the United Front Department of the Korean Workers' Party, which normally makes these statements and normally covers the relations with South Korea. So it's suggesting a little bit that North Korea, well, it could be suggesting, I mean, that's the question, isn't it? Is North Korea looking at South Korea as another country?
It appears so, or rather it feels like North Korea is just trying its way into this new realm and this new situation regarding the South Korean Ministry of Unification and its planned restructurization or certain reorganization plans. It's another topic to cover,
right.
but let's focus on the rhetoric first. I think by referring to South Korea as another country, even using those quotation marks, even let's say sarcastically, it sends certain signals to the South, trying to, let's say, check the temperature of the water before entering, like, tipping your just toes.
Yes.
Like, are they gonna respond? What their response is gonna be? Because they already know that the current South Korean president announced that actually there will be no rapprochement with North Korea. There will be rather cooperation with the U.S. and Japan in strengthening military alliances and so on. And basically, he started wrapping up the progress of the previous president. And in this whole situation, I think North Korea is just trying to find its way how to talk with South Korea within this new reality.
Yeah, it is certainly and it's a reality that, I mean, the current president, Yoon Suk-yeol, has another 4 years to his term. So there's certainly a lot of that reality to go. And
exactly.
Yeah. Wow. Now, in the last few minutes, I want to also quickly talk about Russia delivering some wheat and corn, some grain to North Korea. That was reported by the Russian Customs Agency.
Right.
But the amounts are not huge. I mean, we're talking 1,080 tons from the Siberian region of Kuzbas, also known as the Kemerovo Oblast.
Kemerovo Oblast, yes.
Which is really in the middle. It's nowhere near the DPRK. It's not like it's a bordering area.
Yes,
it's really far from there.
Absolutely.
And then the same agency also reported in late June that the Krasnoyarsk administrative area exported some 200 tons of wheat flour to the DPRK, China, and Kazakhstan altogether. So we don't actually know how much
really
of those 200.
Yes.
Yeah. But we have some other, if you add all of these numbers up, because I've got some other numbers from Amur and from also twice from Kuzbas in April and May. If you add it all up, it's probably not more than 10,000 tons of grain. And now, according to statistics that I saw, North Korea needs about 5.5 million tons of grain to feed its 25 million people. And last year, North Korea's grain production was estimated at 4.5 million tons, which means that there's a shortfall of 1 million tons a year. So those amounts that we're talking about from Russia, they're useful, they're good, but really it's a drop in the ocean. So what does it mean? What's the significance of it?
Well, it's interesting that you highlighted this specific news, because we know that North Korea is basically relying on grain shipments from other countries. And basically those two countries that supply this grain are China and Russia. And although the Russian exports of grain are minuscule and are really, like you said, just drop in the ocean, we have statistics from the Chinese customs that actually says that they are they have been supplying pretty a lot of grain as well. And we probably would just consider Russian shipments as part of this whole package that aid package that North Korea receives from its two main trade partners, China and Russia.
Yeah. Wow. So it also remains to be seen that the World Food Program, they're trying to triple their funding for food programs. They want to get $42 million for the first half of this year. I know that they're well short of that target there.
Right.
But if they, I mean, that could be a sign that the World Food Program is expecting to be able to bring food aid into North Korea again. So there may be three partners soon. It may be Russia, China, and the World Food Program bringing in aid in the form of flour, wheat, and corn to North Korea.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, everything, of course, is contingent upon the border situation, right? If North Korea keeps maintaining border closures, we won't see many shipments. But apart from certain allowed deliveries from China and Russia, because we know that trade is going on, but however meager, it's still ongoing. But if we want to talk about the involvement of an international organization that is in charge of this, alleviating hunger and everything, then we would probably need to talk about massive border opening.
Right, okay. Now, these shipments of grain from Russia, Are they coming in by rail?
Most likely it's by rail because we haven't seen much vessel activity, Russian vessel activity in North Korean ports. So I suppose it's delivered directly through the Tumangan crossing via the Primorsky Krai.
Yeah.
And
So there have been some limited border crossings.
yes, of course.
All right, and last thing to talk about this week is the new cargo ships that North Korea bought last year. You're a ship watcher. You've been watching these ships that are now they've been reflagged. They're in North Korean service.
Right.
And they're spending a bit of time in and around Chinese ports. Tell us about that.
All right. So basically, if we get to the point, North Korea acquired several ships over, let's say, 2 years, starting 2020, 2021. And those ships, they have been reflagged. Now they're flying North Korean colors.
Mm-hmm.
And what's remarkable about this situation is that now we see how actively they're engaging in these cargo deliveries. We don't know what cargo has been exchanged, but we know that.
What do we expect?
Well, considering the fact that those ships went directly to Longkou and Dalian, those two seaports in China, they are known for coal and iron.
Okay.
So we could expect that there could be certain deliveries of iron or coal from North Korea, because we know that North Korea is quite rich in these resources. However, it is very hard to definitively say whether it is the case. But we definitely see, on the other hand, that those ships that have been recently acquired by North Korea are being put in use.
Mm-hmm. Are they doing anything funny, like turning off their transponders or doing ship-to-ship transfers or anything like that?
Well, there have been several instances that caught my attention, and you can check it out on NK News or NK Pro, speaking exactly about these situations. However, when we're talking about these specific ships, I would rather say no, there haven't been any cases of ship-to-ship transfer, but switching off transponders, disappearing from all the geolocation services, that is the classic move North Korea pulls pretty much every time it wants to conceal some illicit activities.
Classic North Korea. All right. Thanks very much, Anton, for coming on the show today.
Thank you for inviting.
Attention, North Korea portfolio professionals. Are you in need of more than just sloppy and spotty South Korean news coverage on the DPRK? If so, I present to you NK Pro. Born from the established news-gathering reputation of NK News, NK Pro leverages staff experience and top-notch technology to provide subscribers with superior knowledge and tools to achieve their goals. Expect daily analysis, exclusive tools, and a suite of research tools that cover everything from North Korean state media to the whereabouts of DPRK vessels and aircraft. How cool is that? In a world where the landscape of North Korea seems unknowable to many, NK Pro cuts through the noise and provides you with the quality, reliability, and timeliness you need. Stay ahead, stay informed, and master the landscape with NK Pro. Trust me, it's a game changer. Interested? Visit nknews.org/professionals to claim your free 30-day trial of NK Pro. Once again, that's nknews.org/professionals. Today, for our long interview, I'm talking with Bada Nam, Secretary General of PSCore, about his organization's new research on internet use in North Korea. You can find PSCore on Twitter at PSCore911. Welcome back on the show, Bada.
Thank you.
You were previously on the podcast on episode 204, so it's good to have you on again. For listeners who missed that first interview, can you please share what PSCore is and what it does and what your role is?
Right. Thank you for having me first. And PSCore is acronym for People for Successful Korean Reunification. So we want to focus on the successful reunification. Everyone has the idea of reunification. Someone is focusing on the political reason, some people patriotic reasons, but we do centered on the human rights value for more. So we want to make the better human rights conditions. Ultimately, we think reunification in Korean Peninsula is really necessary. So we are working for successful Korean Reunification. And we are working for the better human rights conditions in North Korea and supporting North Korean defector students, mostly English education, and also support the reunification talks between young generations.
Okay, so that you're preparing for something in the future.
Yeah, we want to try.
Right. When do you think that will happen, reunification?
Who knows? No one knows what will happen.
Do you think it'll happen in your lifetime?
Hope so.
Okay.
Hope so. Hope to make it like within this year or next year. Yeah, as soon as possible. But
as soon as possible. Okay.
It will be not easy to achieve it.
So I invited you back on the show today to talk about PSCore's recent report titled Digital Hostages. What does the title mean and what is the report about?
It is about the internet freedom in North Korea. North Korean citizens are like the hostages in digital world. They cannot access to internet at all. Most of the people cannot access the internet and they never heard of internet at all. So they are kind of a hostage status. So we put that title on there. And our report covers the internet situation, connection situation, and also covers the intranet and explains the technology issues with the human-rights tools, international tools to evaluate the human rights conditions in North Korea. So we didn't want to put too much on effort of technical side of North Korean internet.
And how did you find people to interview for this research?
Yeah, that was really hard part actually. A lot of defectors who worked together with us before, and we have a lot of interviewees who experienced the internet in North Korea or experienced the internet as a North Korean citizen was a very small number of people. And also a lot of them, they didn't want to have the interview because if they say like on what circumstances, what condition they use internet, it's very clearly shows who they are and their position, where they are, in what year. It was very easy to recognize. And also for some like high elite positions could use it or at least access it, even though it's very limited chances. But these elite people, they also well recognized by their interviews. So it was very hard to find people.
So how many did you interview in the end?
In total, actually around 30, but we mentioned only some of them on our report. And
to keep them anonymous.
Keep them anonymous, and some of them are actually, they didn't want to use that testimony in our report. So some of them were used, but some of them were only like to get the information.
Just the data, the numbers. Okay. Now, generally, I think it's understood for a long time that internet is very tightly controlled in North Korea. Some people even think that there is no internet in North Korea. But we have this data from your research that gives us a better picture about how tightly controlled internet access is. So based on your study, how many people in North Korea do you think have some kind of access to the internet?
Depending on the level or type of access, only a handful of people could get access, unlimited access, like what we do in South Korea or outside the world.
So full access to the whole internet. That's a very, very small handful of people. Actually,
no one knows the exact number of them. They will be very, not just high elite, it will be very close to the Kim Jong-un. But one of the example is even for the diplomats who used to work outside of North Korea could not access to internet at all.
Even outside North Korea?
Outside North Korea, they could.
Oh, I see. But once they returned to North Korea,
they could not.
They no longer have access.
Even in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the officers cannot send an email directly. They need to ask to certain division to send the email, and then they are having email conversation, and then deliver it. So it is very limited, and some of the researchers, professors are available, but it is not like free access like we do. They need to get through some regulations and the allowance process.
Right, and we'll talk a little bit
Right.
about that in detail. Do you, from your research, do you believe that people with full access, uncontrolled access to the internet, are they all in Pyongyang?
Mostly in Pyongyang, I think. Only like high political division
Yeah.
that makes the entire the strategy for the party could access. Only some people could access it. That means North Korea doesn't want to access internet for their people.
So what do we know about the speed of internet that is available in North Korea? Does North Korea actually have, physically, does it have high-speed internet?
Yeah, they have.
Okay.
Even though it is not that much high, but it's available.
Okay, so is video conferencing possible from North Korea, for example?
If it is through internet, maybe possible. Some of the university students who's attending international conferences or international competition, they could access to internet. For example, like the software competition members, only selected numbers. For example, like handful of people, less than 10 people, like between 5 to 7. Within certain university, the software development team could attend the conference.
So is it accurate to say that if a North Korean person has access to the internet, it's probably for work or professional reasons and not for leisure?
Not at all. Not at all. And they don't know much about the internet exists at all.
Right. So, as you said, there's a very, very small elite group of North Korean citizens who can access without censorship, without limits. But most people who have access, they do it for work.
Yeah.
And how does a North Korean who needs internet for work get access to it? Tell us about that bureaucratic process to gain the approval.
Again, for the professor or researchers, they need to get like some paperwork to get allowance, at least 4 steps of the paperwork. And after you get the access, the approval, then you need to wait for couple days, and then based on even though you got the approval, you cannot use it right away. You need to wait on the list, and if there are more people on the list, then you also need to wait for a couple of days more.
Wow.
And then you can use it only for 1 hour.
Oh gosh.
Under the surveillance of some system. If you get into the room, internet access room, you and another researcher will sit together, and there will be one librarian between you. Yeah. And that librarian is keep watching you, what you are searching internet.
Wow. And
that librarian need to verify with his or her fingerprint.
Yes, I read in your report that there is a kind of a regularly the computer screen freezes, and in order to continue doing your research, the librarian has to come along and unlock the freeze with the fingerprint, some kind of technology, the fingerprint reader, to unlock the computer in order to keep going. Why is that?
It is clearly showing that to the researchers or someone using internet, North Korea wanted to recognize them that someone is watching you and you cannot do something wrong within time period. If they have like longer time, then there could be some other things possible. For example, like sending email or any other thing, or searching for internet. Do anything is not possible by watching someone is next to you, or there's also the CCTV in the room, so people are watching you, and also security agency is walking around the room. The room has around 20 computers, and that person is keep walking around and see what you are searching for. And that the searching language has to be foreign one, not the Korean language. If they search for South Korean, any of the document or page, then it will be a big trouble. They cannot search the Korean ones, so they need to find English or Chinese ones, Chinese websites.
Right.
And once they...
What about Japanese?
Yeah, some other languages as well, but mostly they said it's Chinese or English.
I see.
And once the researcher is... there could be some images, right, on the website, research papers or research websites.
Yeah.
If there's any like female picture, for example, there could be female pictures, right? A
picture of a woman.
Yeah, just picture of woman
Yep.
makes big problem for them. Even though they are not made it on purpose, it was just showing. But in that case, the state security was coming to you and not physically but verbally doing that very violently prohibit to access the internet.
Now, you're not talking about a picture of a naked woman. You're just talking about a picture of a woman.
Yeah.
Any woman.
Right.
Okay. So that attracts attention from the security, national security or state security people. Yeah. Okay.
And one more thing is when they are searching for the information or data, they cannot direct the document directly. They need, in case they want to download some document for their academic research, they need to download it to a certain USB, and then they cannot get it. They need to submit to the certain division and get the approval, and then they can get it a couple of days later.
The document.
Yeah.
Okay. Why is this? How does this level of control over internet help the North Korean government? It sounds very inefficient. So why do they do this?
They don't care for inefficient at all. They just want to control everyone.
But what are they afraid of? What's the North Korean government worried about?
Probably they don't want any information from outside to their citizens. If it is possible to be disconnected at all, probably they will do that. But they know that they need more information from outside. They need more data or support from outside. So they are having some connections with the other countries, but they really don't want to. They really want to isolate their people from the world.
So what kind of information from the outside is welcome in North Korea?
Only the technical or only the
So scientific information.
Scientific, economic kind of issues, never about the political or human rights issues.
I see. Now, how much do most North Korean people know about the internet?
To be honest, in their textbook, they teach World Wide Web with the text.
Yeah.
But many of them never heard of internet at all.
I saw it mentioned in a North Korean comic book for children, so I know that at least children who read comic books in North Korea have heard of the internet because it's in there. Well, I don't know how widespread that comic book is, but at least the children in Pyongyang who have access to it, they are aware that it exists.
Oh, yeah. In some interesting testimonies that even though they never accessed internet at all, but they could see people are searching something through the laptop, through the watching the Korean drama or movie.
Ah, okay. So they have indirect experience of the internet.
Yeah, someone is
watching.
using the computer to search for the information.
Right.
They could see it, but they didn't know what that was.
So if they are watching South Korean or Chinese or any other dramas, which is forbidden by the North Korean government, if they're watching these things, then they have some indirect experience of seeing people use the internet. Yeah. Now, North Korean people do have access to a local intranet, an intranet. Can you tell us about that? What does everybody have access to the intranet, and what can they do with it?
Intranet is kind of internal internet, only for North Korean people. It is only available within North Korea. And in our survey, actually, we had to survey to defectors, and the 155 answers, and between them, 68% are not aware of intranet. Only 15%.
They're not even aware that it exists.
Right.
Are they recent defectors?
Yeah, they are recent defectors.
But they weren't aware of the intranet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some of them could use intranet through their mobile phone.
Right.
It was possible, but still, many of them were not aware of intranet at all.
Okay. And what can they do with the intranet? Can they do shopping? Can they read newspapers? Can they watch videos? What can they do with it?
Actually, North Korea tried to do everything what we do in internet. They may want to make it into intranet, all the same thing as well. So shopping exists. They can search for a library, e-library, and have the applications to educate them and play games, leisures, watch videos. Streamings are possible, but it is just saying it is possible, but not popular or not widespread.
Right. Yeah. Now, because you said that 68% of your surveyed North Korean defectors had never seen the intranet or weren't aware of the intranet, does that mean that there is some bureaucratic process to get permission to access the intranet?
It is getting better. It used to not possible from everyone. Previously, actually, there are many steps. At the beginning, actually, North Korea tried to deliver it to everywhere. So at home, it was possible.
Mm-hmm.
But at certain time, they realized that intranet, the network, and chattings within intranet was kind of dangerous for their political reason. So it was possible to having like random chat before, but in short time, they like regulate the random chattings. So now it is available between who knows both IDs.
People who know each other.
Yeah, right.
Did you talk to anybody who experienced a random chat in North Korea?
Yes.
Tell us more about that.
Mm-hmm.
Because that does seem, I can imagine from the North Korean government's perspective, that does seem a bit dangerous. So tell us more about it.
So random chatting was kind of very popular when it comes out. So people were kind of spending a lot of time having some talks with random people. So even for dating was kind of made through that random chatting. So where do you live? I'm in this district. Are you in Pyongyang? Or where are you? What's your age?
Age, sex, location.
Yeah.
Right.
It's the same thing what we do in chattings. And then there are some talks of the romance with it and some talks with the getting together. Then North Korea realized that people are getting together through the random chatting.
Was it monitored?
I think it's less monitored before. It was kind of testing.
Okay.
Very early stage of intranet.
But
So then they regulated to use personal reasons and at home. So it was possible at home at the beginning. Then they regulate into the certain places or school or universities.
For random chat?
A random chat was like,
completely stopped?
Yeah, completely stopped.
All right.
And then the intranet itself was possible at the institutions and big
and workplaces.
Workplaces. Then recently they opened to the personal home again.
Okay.
The thing is, it is very expensive to connect it. Internet is not, if you imagine remember the first stage of internet, actually you need to install the line to your home.
Right.
So in North Korea, it is not installed to every home. So to use intranet at home, you need to pay for that
installation fee.
Right.
Okay.
It is around $150, $180 US.
For the installation.
Right.
Okay.
So it is very expensive for North Korean people.
And what about the monthly fees?
Monthly fee he said it was around $14 or something.
Which is a lot in North Korea. It's a lot of money.
Right. So it is kind of to show you are economically available to spend money for nothing or for fun. It is kind of to show you are in luxury.
And so, for example, if I'm a North Korean, not elite, maybe I'm living in a rural city somewhere, let's say Haesan, and I want to get the intranet, do I have to fill in a form? Do I contact someone from the party office? How do I do that?
Yeah, you need to get the approval for several steps. And you
from
also...
my work group leader or something like that?
Yeah, and the party...
Inminban,
Jang. Inminbanjang is nothing actually. You need to get the approval from like Shido.
So it's a higher level. Okay.
Right. Yeah. And also you need to have the computer. But the thing is, you cannot have stable power, electricity.
Yeah.
So there's not much reason to use intranet at your home.
Well, you can maybe, some houses have the little solar panel outside, right? Or they use a car battery for the computer. I've seen that too. How does the government, the government of North Korea, monitor what people do on the intranet? You know, is there a recording of keystrokes, or is there a freezing of the screen captures? I mean, what do you know about that?
Now you can access internet very easily. It's automatic.
Intranet.
Yeah. I mean, what we do is to connect internet.
Oh,
now.
I see. You're talking about us here. Okay.
Yeah, right. There's nothing like the showing what you are when you use internet. You don't imagine if there's any steps at all. But I'm not sure how many of you remember the like very long time ago PC communication through the modems kind of period, you need to start certain software to connect to the intranet.
Okay.
So in North Korea, is Pyeongyangsang software exists. So you need to install some softwares to verify who you are to connect the intranet.
So there's no anonymity on the North Korean intranet.
Right.
You have to prove who you are.
If you do anything, then government knows what you do and what purpose you connected.
Right. And so that's Pyeongyangsang to connect to the internet. There's also some other intranet. There's also some other software packages, Shingi, I think. Is that the right pronunciation?
Yeah, Shingi.
And Trace Viewer and Red Flag. Tell us about them. What do they do?
Shingi is a software North Korean government says is the virus vaccine, but the software developer back in North Korea, he said he's very mostly sure about that Shingi is the monitoring software because Shingi is very light software, very small megabytes software, but it detects software not regularly but quite often. So in North Korean situation, it's not connected a lot between computers, so the virus could not be spread a lot actually. But Shingi is detecting software a lot, so they need to keep update Shingi all the time. But he thinks that in some of the tests from him, he thinks Shingi is making screenshots and sending it to the government.
Okay.
And also making alarms that you have virus, you need to update your software kind of thing. So keep making people to report and also connect it to the government always.
Now, there have been some stories reported here on NK News about North Korea creating viruses and malware and things to spread on the internet to the rest of the world. Do these viruses and malware, do they sometimes end up accidentally on the North Korean intranet, infecting North Korean computers?
Actually, in our report, we call internet to global internet and intranet separately because it's very confused.
Sure.
So we call global internet is totally different with intranet.
Yeah.
So intranet cannot be, maybe in some ways, but not commonly, or almost not possible to connect global internet and intranet.
Okay. What about Red Flag? What does that do, that piece of software?
These applications also work for the constant surveillance. These apps making the screenshots on your devices and shows that this device is making screenshot of your activity. So people can aware that this device is making screenshots of my activity. So people are kind of monitoring his usage of the devices.
And is that happening on PCs and mobile devices in North Korea?
That's for mostly mobile devices.
Okay.
So they have different ones. For the mobile devices, for example, if you want to watch the video clip, that video has to be registered in the government database.
Okay.
Then they are giving you the verification, the file. And so if you want to run certain video, you need to have that file as well. Or any applications, you also need that verification file together. So you cannot just, this is the legal way to use it. If you use certain other device, or hidden devices or hidden laptop, you can use it. But for the legal way to use it, you need the verification file as well.
Now, earlier you said that the cost of the local intranet, you've got to install the cable first and then pay $14 a month, approximately $14 a month. What about the cost of accessing the internet, the global internet, say for email or for internet research? Did you find any information about that?
Actually, it's not a matter of cost or something. You are not available to use it. So the limitation is it could be regulated by the cost, but mostly they cannot access at all. So it's not a matter of the cost or something.
Now, I've heard that even North Korean government offices, that they have to pay money for their internet email use, and that payment is calculated according to the volume of the use. So if they send or receive a long email text or they receive an attachment, that can increase their costs, so they try to avoid that.
Maybe in some other cases, yes. But our testimony, even for the diplomat, one of the diplomats said that he could use internet only once while he was in Pyongyang. Not in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs office. It was not possible, but he could use it at international organizations' office when they are working together for a certain project.
Right.
They could access internet in that office only with not with the Wi-Fi, with the cable internet. And then they could use it when the international staffs and they are working together. So the North Korean government cannot see who's using internet while they are using it. But once him and his colleague was using internet, global internet in the office, but there were no foreign members there, foreign people there. So he was not using internet, global internet at all, but his colleague was using internet, so global internet. So the North Korean government catch him, brought him to somewhere, and he never saw him again.
Wow.
So it's not a matter of cost or something. It's a matter of you can use it or not. And also it is very dangerous one.
Okay. Now your report, Digital Hostages, is not just a research project about North Korean internet use, but it's also a call to action. What does PSCore want the international community to do?
These days, we are living in digital era and we are connected to network for every aspect of our life. And these days, the digital literacy is a kind of key factor for your younger generation and for you as well. So globally, people are using more digital and more connected through network, but North Korea is not available. So the current UN Secretary General, Guterres, is trying to develop internet access into basic human rights by 2030. UN is trying to make internet access to everyone as a basic human right. And with this standard, I think North Korean people should not be isolated by this movement. People, entire human beings, need to be connected and work together. And also digital and network is a kind of powerful tool to develop human beings. Nowadays, even for someone very poor family or isolated people living in rural area could get high standards of education or access to any information that exists in the world. So the people can develop their in personal life, also making business globally.
But not in North Korea.
Yeah.
And you'd like to see that happening in North Korea?
That's not because of the infrastructure. It is only because of the North Korean policies.
Right. Would a copy of the Chinese-style internet with censorship and tight controls, would that be better than what North Korea has now?
Definitely. And when we have the interviews with North Korean defectors who mostly flee to China first and then coming to South Korea, they said they were very shocked when they see internet when they were in China. But the thing is, in internet researches, like the big international organizations, they put China and North Korea into the same level.
But you see this big difference.
Very big difference, but they don't know much about the situation in North Korea. That's why we had this research paper to show how clearly Chinese style and North Korean style is different.
Right.
So at least Chinese model could be the something North Korea should provide to their people.
So what can PSCore, or what is PSCore trying to do to help North Korean people inside North Korea?
Actually, there's not much thing we can do, to be honest. And also legally, there's nothing to do.
But you're pushing the United Nations to push North Korea to have more internet access there, right?
Yeah, as we mentioned to the UN, the system, we want to make internet access to the basic human rights.
Right.
And it could be beneficial for not only North Korea, but also for the countries, Asian countries or some African countries or some other countries under the dictatorship or pressing under the authoritarian regime.
Right.
So people need to express their freedom of thoughts and also express what they think. And they need to know what the world is happening, how people are connected and educated and having the new life under the internet era. So we are asking UN to the certain international covenant convention to provide internet access to everyone in the world.
Okay. Your report, your recent report, Digital Hostages, that's just one research project about North Korea. But PSCore has done other research projects too, right?
Yes. This is our most current one, but the previous one was about digital surveillance in North Korea. So it was more dealing with the digital devices and how the monitoring softwares in computers and digital mobile devices are under surveillance. So we wanted to put more searchlight on the digital rights. Digital right is not that much developed area of North Korean human rights. In North Korean human rights, people keep saying about the political rights and like torture, detention, or political prison camp, these things. But there are so many. While we are developing our society into digital era, new development means there are more regulation in North Korean society. So we wanted to develop more ideas, delivering more situation into from North Korea into worldwide.
Right. And are all your reports available in English?
Yes, and they are all in our website, www.pscore.org.
Okay.
And we have multiple language tabs as well. We have 6, 7, 8, almost nine language tabs. So
great.
You can check it. And Twitter is not that much updated. So if you find us in Instagram at PSCore Korea, you can find more information about us.
Okay, PSCore Korea, one word.
Yes.
On Instagram. Okay. Great. Well, thank you very much, Bada Nam, for coming again on the NK News podcast.
Thank you for having me today.
Keep doing a good job at PSCore. By the way, LinkedIn tells me that today is your 13th anniversary at PSCore. So congratulations on your 13th work birthday.
Thank you very much.
Great. And keep doing good research in the future. Thanks very much and talk to you again soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Let me ask you this. You're listening to the NK News podcast, so you know more about North Korea than most. But how about the South? To really understand what's happening on the peninsula, you need to know about South Korea. And now you can, through our new Korea Pro news and analysis service. This is not your average news service. It's a thoroughly researched analysis of South Korea's politics, society, and economy from an international perspective. But you know what the cherry on top is? The absolute lack of commercial influences. No ads, no sponsored articles. It's just pure, objective analysis by a team of qualified specialists. And the best part? As a listener of this podcast, you get a 25% discount. All you have to do is use the coupon code PODCAST during your sign-up. So head over to koreapro.org/podcast and start your journey with Korea Pro. That's koreapro.org/podcast. Thanks as always to Brian Betts and Arius Dare for facilitating this episode, and to our post-recording producer genius Gabby Magnuson, who cuts out all the extraneous noises, awkward silences, bodily functions, and puts in the ads. Thank you very much for listening, and next time.